The eCom Seller Summit was created to prove that with the right tools and training, anyone and everyone can make money in e-commerce. So many people want to try their hand at e-commerce, selling on eBay, Amazon, Shopify, and more, but they're afraid they won't be successful. This summit will show you that there's many ways to do e-commerce, and there are many platforms you can explore because e-commerce really has no limits. It really can pay your bills, and e-commerce never sleeps. There's nothing like waking up to profits from getting sales all night long. My name is Nicole Whitlock, and this is the eCom Seller Summit. Hello, this is Nicole Whitlock with the eCom Seller Summit, and today's key feature speaker is Pauline Prince. Now, Pauline is the owner, founder, the creator of Canada Prep and Fulfillment, and I am so glad that she's agreed to be part of this awesome summit. So, hello, Pauline, how are you doing?
I'm doing well today. How's everyone doing?
Well, I think people are doing well. They're enjoying the summit, so we are so glad that you're one of our speakers. I am going to let you take it away from here.
Sure. Hello, everyone. As Nicole said, I'm Pauline Prince, and I am an Amazon seller. I also sell on eBay Canada, and I'm the founder, owner, creator of Canada Prep and Fulfillment. We have two locations in Canada, Toronto, which is the city I live in, and we also have a Vancouver location where my business colleague Brandon Banks resides and operates that location. Um, Canada is a wonderful country. I'm a little biased because I am Canadian. However, what's important for you is that Canada is an excellent marketplace. So whether you sell on Amazon or eBay or Walmart, or you have your own Shopify store or any other e-commerce marketplace, whether that's Facebook, maybe you sell on Etsy or other marketplaces, you likely have customers in Canada.
Yeah.
They're coming to your site, your website, your store, and they're placing orders. And you struggle with how do I fulfill those orders? It's leaving where you are and it needs to get into Canada. Now, whether you live in the United States or you live in any other country in the world, there's nothing stopping you from also expanding your business into Canada or more easily accessing the Canadian consumer.
Yeah.
And by now, if you haven't realized, the Canadian consumer is a very good consumer base to expand and access. And we'll talk more about that as we go through my presentation today.
All right.
But I think what's important is that you look at Canada as your next playground if you haven't already.
Yeah, and I just want to say if you don't have a notepad and pen, this is the time to grab one because Pauline is going to be giving a lot of golden nuggets. Canada is absolutely a platform where you can make a lot of money. So take some good notes and go ahead, Miss Pauline.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Now, this presentation is very much focused on Amazon Canada. However, much of the nuggets that I will be sharing can be extrapolated and applied, whether it's Walmart Canada or it's eBay Canada, or it's your own e-commerce store that is selling to Canadian consumers. You're going to glean a lot of information about the Canadian marketplace that you can use to make your expansion decisions.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to just share. And let's start my slideshow. Now,
All right. So I don't see
on,
the share yet. I
oh
don't see
no,
it yet. Yeah, no. Click
let
share.
me make sure that I do the share properly. One moment. All right.
Yeah, it's not there yet.
Yeah, I think I just have to click this and then there we go.
Ah, there you are. I see.
Yeah. uh,
All right. So we're ready to roll.
all right. So I think you should see that now.
Yep, absolutely. And you can
That's
click that little hide at the bottom that you see.
perfect.
There you go. And we are good to go.
Okay, so I'm gonna go put it back on slideshow because when I
There you
there.
go.
All right. So I affectionately call what I'm presenting today the Canada strategy, and you will see why I call it that as we go through the presentation. But as I mentioned before, myself and my colleague Brandon, um, we are the operators of Canada Prep and Fulfillment in its two locations in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Myself, I've had a 21-year corporate career in both Canada and the United States. So I have lived in the US for a stretch of time in Florida. My career took me there. And I returned to Canada in 2016. I started in Amazon Canada, excuse me, Amazon US when I was still in the United States in 2014, and then added Canada 2016 and Europe 2017. I'm also in Australia, Amazon Australia, but I actually haven't started selling. But when I returned to Canada, I realized there was a huge opportunity, not only with Amazon there, but also e-commerce. And so I founded Canada Prep and Fulfillment to help facilitate the expansion for e-commerce retailers into Canada. Now, for those of you that live in the United States or elsewhere, you may be wondering, okay, well, I know that there's some country north of our border, but I'm really not sure what's going on with those people. But they showed us in geography class that there's another country up there, but you don't know much about us. Maybe you live in another part of the world and you probably know more about Canada, but what you may not know about our economy and the marketplace is maybe caused you to pause from expanding there. Or some of you may have tried to expand into Canada and you came across some barriers to entry that discouraged you, or there's information that you've heard over time that has discouraged you. Now, what I have found, the expansion into Canada, I think is, from an Amazon perspective, quite important to the growth and scale of your business and the profitability of your business. Because our current day Amazon.com, Amazon US experience is that there's higher and higher levels of competition. The competition level is insane, really. And that has produced a downward pressure on profit margins. It's harder and harder and actually challenging to make decent profits on products that once we selling on Amazon.com used to do quite well with. So there's more and more innovation required to make money. So instead of selling a single unit of a product, you now have to create maybe a multi-pack that is 6 units of the same product multi-pack together to sell it at a higher price so that you make a decent profit margin. Um, and fight off some of that competition. Or maybe you have to bundle some products together, or you need to find some sort of insert to include or addition to the product in order to fight off some competition and differentiate your offering. So there's a lot more innovation on .com that is needed. You may even find a new product, you're doing well with it for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month before other people discover the same thing, jump on the listing and drive that price down. So I found that this was happening. And I believe it's happening because everyone is sourcing their products from the same places. So if everyone is sourcing their same products from the same places that other people are, then everyone's going to jump all together on the same items, selling on the same marketplace, and this situation is inevitable. So expansion beyond is necessary. And as some of you, you may get hives just thinking about expanding into another market. So you're selling on .com. Where next? Well, I'm saying expansion is not as hard as you think. And your logical next step should be a country that's in the same cluster of marketplaces in the Amazon world as you are already selling on. And it's an easy expansion when we speak of Canada because the first language in Canada is English. There's a second language, which is French. However, the English being first allows you to make an easy expansion, easy transition into this marketplace. It's really not as hard as you think because, as I said, it is a logical expansion because these countries are already clustered together. Your existing Amazon account, though you may have opened it as Amazon US, whether you live in the United States or Canada or any other country in the world, your Amazon US account is already a part of a cluster that includes Canada and Mexico. So enabling your North America account, which means just allows Canada and Mexico, those accounts to be activated, um, is a very simple thing to do. It's literally one click in your Amazon Seller Central dashboard. And down the road, you may want to convert your North America account to an Americas account, which would reveal the fact that you also within this cluster have access to Amazon Brazil, which is an active marketplace for physical product. Most people don't realize that, but it is there.
Okay, I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. So I believe the Brazil marketplace being such a large population with a big section of that population also being a big consumer marketplace, um, I think is a multi-million dollar maker marketplace. And I think people will eventually open up to that expansion. Their language, of course, is Portuguese, so there is some hurdles that you'll need to jump over moving into that country, but not impossible, of course. And I just think it's something we need to keep in mind as we think about continually expanding our businesses.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
that's important.
yes, for sure. So, my challenge to you guys today is to expand your thinking and your business beyond Amazon US. And I'm saying start with Canada, and that is regardless of where you live in the world. So, expand your business for year round results. So, it's not a Q4 thing, it's not a seasonal thing, it's year round. And with the realities of the COVID 19 um, responses that most of our countries have implemented, we now have seen a massive shift, what is a preemptive shift to online retail by most of our populations. So, especially here in Canada, we have been under lockdown measures for, um, it's been a year. And our lockdown levels have been much more profound than I would say our American counterparts. So have definitely seen a huge uptick in our online purchasing here. And so that's not going to change after we get freed up again. There's been a behavior shift, a behavior change that is not going to revert back when things open up again. I strongly believe that.
I agree too.
Yeah. So, why, as I said, the United States has become challenging is because you have everyone trying to sell in the U.S. marketplace. Um, and so, what I feel is that the Canadian consumer is a consumer that you, as a seller, whether you are in Canada and you're a Canadian selling in this marketplace, or you're someone that lives outside of Canada selling on this marketplace or would like to understand the Canadian consumer, you need to know a little bit about Canada. Now, the Canadian population is much lower than the US. We have a much bigger landmass. So the geography of the country is a bigger landmass than the US, but we only have about 10% of the US population level. Um, but the wonderful thing is that here in Canada, we have our own television programming, but we also have all of that US programming. So we have been through all these decades watching US television, US commercials. We've seen everything, all the brands. So what do you think? We grew up wanting all the things that we see on TV. However, those things don't necessarily come here. We get some things and some of the varieties of certain products, but not everything that's available in the US marketplace. So we're very similar in consumption to our US counterpart in terms of brand awareness. We have similar holidays and traditions. We have some ones that are different for sure, but the similarities are there. Um, there's a stronger tolerance, though, for high prices, high selling prices for products. Why is that? Because so much of the products that we consume here are imported to Canada. Once a product needs to be brought in from outside the country, that there's additional expenses to do that. So there's an understanding that that product is going to cost more because it's had to deal with transport, duties and taxes, other kinds of handling in order to bring it to market. So we do have a higher tolerance for things that are priced higher. Canadians do tend to have a higher cost of, how can I say, the higher disposable income level when you compare us to our American counterparts. So what that means is that we do have a tendency, right or wrong, to be the kind of Amazon Prime membership ideal candidate because we do um, have a less price sensitivity and we have the funds to spend and seem to be very willing to spend. Uh, Another topic altogether is we seem to um, even like take a lot of credit in order to purchase things. So, all in all, the Canadian consumer spends and spends a higher level in terms of pricing, is not phased by having to pay a shipping cost. If you are doing merchant fulfill, um, you will find that you don't have to offer free shipping to the Canadian consumer to get them to purchase because there's the understanding it's a huge country to ship that product you're selling to where they are. It may not be financially viable for it to be free shipping. The country is massive and the population is small and spread throughout that massive country. So if you're a merchant fulfilling stuff, do consider that. In the US, they absolutely want to see free shipping or you're not getting a sale. In Canada, that's not the case. Um, all in all, because of the type of consumer, there's an excellent opportunity for leveraging Amazon's Fulfillment by Amazon program, which means that the merchandise is going into the Amazon Fulfillment Center and under Amazon's Prime membership, then a buyer, Amazon customer would have that promise of getting their product shipped to them within 2 days. Merchant fulfilling products within Canada is something I think that many people are terrified of because you're thinking, oh, I'm outside of Canada and somebody from Canada bought my item. Now I have to ship it there. And I have no clue because there's duties and taxes that could be owing, and there's the expense of getting it there. And that can be very scary. So, though there is a massive opportunity there, you may be afraid, but there is a big opportunity for doing that because so much of the product that we want may be product that is not retailing by Canadian retailers. So when I started on Amazon in 2014, the prevailing thought around Amazon Canada by all of the gurus, all of them, was that Amazon Canada was not viable you could not make a profit, and then sales were infrequent. And uh, I wasn't sure what they were looking at or what uh, products they were assessing or what was going on. However, Amazon Canada is more than viable. Selling in Canada in the Amazon context that I'm referring to in this slide is tremendous because there's frequency of sales plus there's high profit margin. Um, I put it like this. Okay, if there are no FBA offers on a marketplace in the Amazon world, then because of the Prime membership, how it's been sold to people, most customers will be discouraged and not make the purchase. So that means if the product has been out of stock in terms of an FBA offer for a prolonged period of time, it means that the consumer has come to the Amazon website looking for the product, not finding it. So over time, it'll appear, oh, well, this product is either not in that catalog or um, nobody wants it. And there's some tremendous brands, very popular brands, that just don't have inventory. The product is not available on Amazon.ca. So you as a seller will interpret that as being, well, no one wants it. That's the wrong angle to look at it. If it is a marketplace where something has not been consistently offered, you have no idea of the demand for the product in that country. You have to make the market, you have to test it. So, how do you start looking at this? You need to understand, like I've mentioned, that the Canadian consumer has been exposed to all of that, the marketing and the advertising that the US consumer has. So you know more about us than you realize. There are barriers to entry in the Canadian marketplace, and we'll talk about how to overcome those later in the presentation. However, with the lack of FBA sellers on Amazon.ca, it opens a wide gate to sellers to enter and, like I said, make the market. This is in all categories. It's all the different brands. It is wide open. There's lower seller competition. There's few or no FBA sellers on fantastic listings. There's products you're selling right now in your US Amazon store that if you just started selling those on .ca, you'd not only make the sales, you'd also make huge profits. And to be honest, you'd probably quickly forget about your .com store and be focusing your energy on .ca.
Yeah, she's telling the truth, y'all.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I emphasize is that you cannot look through your Amazon US glasses at any other Amazon marketplace and have a true vision of it. So, what have we been told through the years for those of you that are experienced on Amazon US? We've been told the bestseller rank on an Amazon listing will tell you how many units of this product sell per month or per day if you use tools like Jungle Scout. And you with certainty will feel, well, this many sales per day or per month, and these are the number of sellers on the listing. I think this is going to sell really well for me. I can sell 10 units a day. That's great. Because of the maturity of the US marketplace, we can with certainty look at a bestseller rank. The maturity of the marketplace means it's not only that there are sellers, FBA sellers of that product, it's also a reflection that there is consistent availability of inventory in that marketplace for that product. When you then switch to another marketplace, you have to ask, has this product been consistently available? If it hasn't, then the bestseller rank is not a true reflection. It's not a perfect guide. So you could look at the rank and draw the wrong conclusion. That's the reality. That's the truth of it. So that means you could overlook a product on another Amazon marketplace like Canada because the bestseller rank by Jungle Scout's interpretation of the rank means that, oh, only five are going to sell of these a month. That's the rank at a particular point in time. And it's also reflecting the fact that historically this thing has not really been in stock. That can't be what guides you, the best selling rank. You need to look at, okay, this is a Fisher Price branded product. Fisher Price is a massively popular brand worldwide. Why wouldn't that listing be doing well in Canada when Canadians know as much as the Americans about that product line? You have to look at tools that tell you historically, has this thing been in stock? Oh, no, it hasn't. Oh, there's only been an FBA seller on and off in the last 5 years, for a few weeks at a time, every now and then. What you need to do is test that product. You need to send it in, send a few units in, and give the Amazon bots a chance to go out and tell the people that come searching for the product, hey, you were doing some searches for this a while back. It's now in stock. Come back. That's what the Amazon bots do. Then the consumers come and purchase. And as soon as the consumer base in Canada realizes, oh, I can go to Amazon.ca and this is going to be in stock, I can just buy on Amazon. What do you think happens?
Yeah.
It's a flood. And that's what's been happening. So all those gurus that said, oh, the sales are infrequent, blah, 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 they're coming at it all the wrong way. You have to give an immature marketplace a chance to mature by availability of product, reliability of inventory levels, and allow the Amazon bots to do their job and get the consumers to the marketplace, right? Then as you become somebody providing a popular product consistently in a marketplace that has a population of 25 million people, and you're the only FBA seller, even if 5 other FBA sellers came on that listing for a popular product, for a popular brand, an entire line of products, do you think that you're going to have a shortage of sales or they're going to be infrequent? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Absolutely not. And that's what my clients have been experiencing. They had anemic sales or low profit sales on their Amazon US stores. They eventually listened to me and said, oh, let me get over my fears or my hesitations and let me expand it to Canada. And now they exploded. So much so, they're focusing almost entirely on Amazon Canada. Because would you rather spend the capital that you have, would you rather use that to make, a profit margin of maybe net profits of like 10%, 20%, where your sales are $20,000 for the month, for example, and $2,000 of that is net profit. So you've used your capital to just make $2,000. You take the same capital that you just spent on selling in .com, and you attach that to .ca. Your sales are going to be way higher. Plus, what I have seen is if your sales were $20,000 on .ca, 50% of that is net profit. Why? Because you sold that stuff for a much higher price than you paid. I'll give you an example because I don't want to. I've given away so many product leads to people, and then every time I mention these products, then somebody's gonna scream at me, "You gave people my product." Um, One of my favorite things is like seasonal when you think about it. So Valentine's was the most recent season that we just came across, right?
Yeah.
Right. Um, you go into Walmart, there's a whole bunch of Valentine's candy, right?
Yep.
The
Yep.
majority of that candy, we don't have that candy in Canada, and we have a massive national sweet tooth, right?
Yep.
Um,
Just telling y'all. I'm just telling y'all. If you're not taking notes, you're getting ready to miss
yeah.
this.
So a bag of um, those chocolate Kit Kats in like a some sort of raspberry flavor, like all these different things, like whether it's jelly beans or it's chocolates or it's other candies, the
Yep.
hard candy, whatever it may be. Say a bag of candy, because I don't want to name any of them, right? Although I named one just now. $2.98 a bag. It's like a 14-ounce bag
Uh-huh.
at your local Walmart, right?
Yep.
In the US. That product, that single bag on .ca sells for $22.99 at minimum.
Mm.
And that sells immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I clients that send in 100 bags of each of the different kinds they found sourcing at Walmart. Sold out less than a week. I've had clients that send in 2,000 units a week just of Valentine's Day candy. It was gone in the same week. So what they had to do is immediately send in more. And even though they started just maybe a month and a half ahead of Valentine's, they were able to get 3 shipments of that level into Amazon Canada. All of that sold out before Valentine's Day.
Yep.
If you're making at least $10, 12, 13, $15, I would say on average they were making somewhere like $12 a bag of that from that candy. Will that not make you happy? I'd
Absolutely.
be happy I'd be very happy about that, right? You
Yep.
spent $3 US on something that net profit is 12, $13 Canadian. Now, even with the exchange rate, that's still incredible, right? You
Yeah.
spent $3 US to make $10 US net profit. That's what we're talking about here, is that products that you would have to create a multi-pack of and sell on Amazon.com to make any profit that's decent, plus to fight off the competition. You don't need to do that multi-pack on .ca. The single unit sells for tremendous profit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're talking about here. You can also consider that you can source within Canada. Say you want to uh, um, supplement your .com store, your Amazon US store. To fight off some of that competition, you need to consider sourcing in Canada. We have online retailers. We have Walmart.ca. And guess what? We still have Toys R Us up here. You know that Toys R Us has Toys R Us exclusives, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
ToysRUs.com is gone.
Yep.
So what do you think? Do you think anyone in the US has access to Toys R Us in the US? No, it's gone. Toys R Us
Yeah.
exclusives in Canada, source it from there. Sell it on .com. Sell it on .ca, right? That's an example. So whether it's retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, you can source in Canada. What about wholesale? There's Canadian distributors for all these products. The wholesalers that are won't give you an account in the US, have you tried contacting their Canadian operation, the Canadian distributor, to open a wholesale account instead there? What about the manufacturers that are here? private labeling outside of China, right?
Yeah.
Certainly, there are US manufacturers, there's also Canadian ones. The trade relationship between Canada and the US is very fluid. Canada is the United States' biggest trade partner. It's not China, it's Canada. So the relationship between the two, and essentially that border, is porous. There's trucks back and forth at a level that is insane. It's billions of dollars of commerce that is exchanged across the Canada US border on a daily basis. Billions. So it is important that you tap into the opportunity you have to import and export across that border, regardless of where you live in the world,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
So, what should you sell on Amazon Canada? Everything. Every category you can think of is wide open. I know that we love to talk about the grocery category. Toys, I know, is something we talk about quite a bit. Toys in Canada, the vast majority of the toys, we get a small supply, if at all, and that's it, right? Um, so that's why I have clients, they sell almost exclusively toys. They sell a huge volume of toys, and it's constant, it's year round. It's not, oh, at Q4 it's great, but otherwise it's slow. No. What's happened now, and I know the pandemic has certainly influenced it. My clients' January's sales were even bigger than December. February, even bigger than January. It's just escalating. Why? Because they caught on and they're pumping product in. So you're supplying a market that's, and the market is going to respond to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So use your knowledge, right? Um, baby, babies are constantly being born. We apparently can't stop ourselves. So think about those. There's so many niches in any one of these categories I'm naming. But health and personal care, beauty. So those are the categories that everyone always considers. But have you ever thought about industrial and scientific, office products? Um, what about automotive? Um, there's all of these different categories, and then there's subcategories within them that are so vastly ignored, generally by sellers. And then think about it being a marketplace that has been ignored. It's wide open. I am not exaggerating. And like I said, for most of my clients, it took me, on average, for my clients, for many of them, it took them hearing this over the course of a year or two before they finally decided, you know what? Maybe this lady is telling some semblance of truth, right? And then they, as soon as they just took action, it
They
was like,
kick themselves.
yeah, it's
They
like I
just,
should have done this years ago. Yes.
yeah, it's time to kick myself. Yeah. Mhm.
And and one of the reasons it's very helpful is we need this merchandise here in Canada, right? Canadians that live near the US border, which most of us live within, it's like 100 miles of the US border, which means um, the big pockets of the populations in the big cities like Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal, we easily access the US. And so we are constantly crossing the border to buy in the US towns that are near us. Those US towns flourish
Yeah.
because of us. And so, but we did that so much. And guess what? For the last year, that border has been closed, tight, no residential traffic.
So they're forced online, people.
Yeah.
If you're not
So
paying attention, they are forced
online,
online. Yeah.
the vast majority, like 99% of the population cannot cross that border, right? So all of the stuff that we were used to having we don't have, like, because we can't go get it ourselves. So if it's on Amazon, it's on Walmart Canada, it's on eBay Canada, we're like, great, I'll just buy it, right? So
Yeah.
it's really important that you realize the context of what we're dealing with. Even after that border reopens, right? What do you think? Would I rather get in my car and drive for an hour and a half, burn all that gas, my time, and get the US currency to buy that product at Walmart in the US? Or is it available right there on Amazon Canada, Walmart Canada, or some other e commerce marketplace? I can just buy it, it's delivered to my door, and I have what I want. And it's a higher, way higher price than I can get it for in the US. But I didn't have to drive, didn't have to, queue at the border, didn't have to burn all that gas and put the mileage on my car. Like, it's a no brainer, right? So it's everything. It's everything you can think of. I'm not even kidding. So our holidays and the traditions. The one marked difference we have has to do with our Thanksgiving holiday. We celebrate Thanksgiving in October. It's the second Monday in October every year. So by the time you guys are celebrating your Thanksgiving, we've been focused on Christmas for a month, a solid month and a little bit. So we're doing Thanksgiving, we're doing Halloween, we're already on Christmas. Even while Halloween stuff is still out, Christmas stuff is out. Um, we don't have Black Friday. We'll drive across the border to come to your Black Friday sales, or we'll jump online and buy from your Black Friday sales. But it's not something that we necessarily do. This is what's key. Our Black Friday is the day after Christmas here. It's called Boxing Day. The day where you're boxing up all your ornaments to put them back away in your attic or wherever, right? So that's the day when all the sales happen, right? So that's another big sales day here in Canada, traditionally. We have back to school, we've got Valentine's, we got we that um, St. Patrick's Day, that's another one that Easter, all that summer stuff. Like we don't have 4th of July because we're not American, but we have Canada Day, which is July 1st, which is Canada's birthday. So we're celebrating that. So there's all this stuff going on. So if you're somebody that likes to focus on seasonal, all you need to do is check out what holidays and traditions Canada has going on, and that will give you some ideas of what to sell at what time. But it's important that you are selling all year round, and then you're supplementing the stuff you're selling all year round with these seasonal opportunities, right? Don't think that you only hit the seasons. You create a baseline, a foundation for your business of products that sell all the time. They don't necessarily have to be consumable products, but because you're trying to service a population of 25 million, sometimes single handedly, you can imagine the things that never actually wear down or consume still sell constantly for you. So the sky's the limit. Choose your method: retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, buying from manufacturers directly, in-demand products, stuff that's not available on retail stores here has to be specially imported. Well, you can have it imported into Canada, right? Your stuff, your products, popular brands that may not be profitable on .com. Check on .ca. I challenge you guys. Access your Amazon seller app. You'll notice in the upper left-hand corner of the app, there's those 3 lines that if you tap on it, allows you to see, okay, I have my Amazon.com store as the visible store right now on this app. You can toggle and switch to Amazon.ca, and now your app is going to be showing you your Canada store, the Canada catalog. Interrogate the catalog. Check out all the stuff that you sell on .com right now. Check the Canada catalog. You would be surprised that it exists there. There may be no offers for FBA, or there may be somebody. You can look at the past. Was there ever an FBA seller? Do your analysis. Check stuff out. The prices are going to surprise you. I know that. You're not going to believe the prices that you see as the prevailing prices for certain things.
Yeah, because the price is higher. I was going to say the price is higher. And the fact that, there's the exclusives. I think about the Toys R Us because we don't have a Toys R Us. You guys still have Sears. Y'all have Sears Canada. We don't have Sears. Our Sears is either moved online or all the stores are physically closed. There are things that are exclusive. People used to love to buy, what is it, Craftsman tools? Like there's stuff you get from Sears that you don't get from any other store. And so some of those things are not necessarily, even if you sourced from Canada and brought those to the US, like think about those exclusives because it says, Toys R Us exclusive. It says, it's just exclusive to Sears and vice versa. Things that were only available in the US. I'm just always flabbergasted at how much money you can make.
Yeah.
Just selling on Canada or potentially sourcing from Canada.
Right. So true. One of the things that I also talk about when you think about even like the Toys R Us situation, every year, different times of the year, there's always some hot new toy that you can expect the supply is going to dry up very quickly for it. Especially when you go into Q4, I would not sell those hot toys on .com because there's going to be like 200 sellers trying to sell that toy. I wouldn't ever do that. You need to get that toy to Canada because one, Canada got far less distribution of that toy. So that means the retail stores didn't stand a chance up here. They are like out of stock like that and will not get more stock, right? So you make your product available on .ca instead of .com. You make a much bigger profit margin. I use the example of, do you remember a couple years back, or a few years, maybe 3-4 years now? Remember the Hatchimals when they first came out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You would need to, give a kidney or your firstborn child to get a Hatchimal. It wasn't happening, right? So what we found, so of course the Hatchimal was reselling. If you could get any, queue up in a line to buy them when a store got restocked, you could sell those for what? You bought them at $59 each. You could resell them at like a $150 or something like that in .com, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. No lie. Those Hatchimals here on .ca, those were selling for no less than $350 each. Right? So what do you think we did? You found people in the US that could get their hands on some Hatchimals. We had a Toys R Us store, some stores up here that they actually said when their Hatchimals were coming in. I got a couple of my cousins and I said, look, we're going to be in that line first thing in the morning. You're going to buy, because they limited the quantity, you're going to buy some, I'm going to buy some. Then we go to the next store. And so that's the kind of situation. I'm not saying you need to do retail arbitrage for that, but what I'm trying to illustrate is that something that you could have sold for $150 with, 50 people selling on that listing on .com, that same toy, there was maybe 3 or 4 FBA sellers of that toy on Canada. It was selling for $350. Mm-hmm. So there's so much more profit to be made if you're going to sell where you're going to make the most profit. Yep. Now, one of the things that people tend to ask about quite a bit is taxation. And so I'm going to quickly address that. If you, whether you are a Canadian business or not, you have the option, and it is optional initially, to have a Canada business number assigned to your entity. Whether you are a US entity or another foreign entity, a Canada business number is just a business number that identifies your business. That does not immediately create any kind of tax obligation. It just allows your business to be identified as operating in Canada. And it's not necessary until you reach the $30,000 Canadian amount in sales. That's when the Canadian government says, hey, you need to get a Canada business number and we will attach a sales tax account. We'll register you for sales tax under that Canada business number. And then you would be expected to file a sales tax return, one sales tax return that will be filed at the federal government of Canada once a year, and you don't have to file anything related to sales tax at the provincial level. That's it.
Repeat that because you cut out just a little bit on my side.
Okay.
One more time.
Okay. So when you reach the $30,000 Canadian sales level, when you look at your prior 4 quarters and you say, hey, I reached $30,000 in sales, now at some point in that calendar year, you need to make contact with the Canada Revenue Agency. And if you live outside of Canada, that would be the department that is for the non-resident businesses. And they will assign you a Canada business number and open a sales tax account for you. What that means is they will then say you need to file a sales tax return at the end of that calendar year. That sales tax return is filed with the feds, so that's with Canada, the Canadian government, which is the federal government. And that's done once a year, and that's it. You do not have to file anything with the provincial governments because the federal government takes the sales tax return, and if there's anything owing to any of the provincial governments, they will send them what they should be getting. Right. So that means the sales tax registration is optional when you're first starting. However, when you exceed the $30,000 mark, that's when you need to contact Canada Revenue and get registered. Now, you don't have to worry. They're not going to hunt you down and stuff like that. You just need at some point in that year to contact them, and they will backdate your registration to whenever it was that you actually hit that $30,000 mark. Because they'll ask you, when did you reach that threshold? You'll tell them. They'll backdate your registration, and it's all good. So they're not gonna try to shoot you because you reached that mark in April and now you're calling them in November. They don't sweat that. They realize you got other things to do besides contact Canada Revenue, right? So that's that in a nutshell. So in terms of sales tax, you don't have to worry about that immediately. And now you know what the situation is, okay? Now you're also wondering, how do I register with Amazon Canada? Well, your Canada account is already there. It's just a matter of going in there, confirming that your address is what you want it to be, which is the address that you have on any other Amazon account that you have. It's your home base address or your business's home base address. You're confirming your charge method, which is the credit card you're going to keep on file in your Canada account, and your deposit method, which will be whatever checking or savings account that you want your proceeds to deposited into. It does not have to be a Canadian dollar checking account or savings account. It is just wherever it may be in the world, in whatever currency it may be in. Amazon Canada will convert that to that account's currency and deposit your proceeds there. Those are the things that you need to do to make sure your Amazon Canada account is activated and ready for use. We talked about the registration with the Canadian government already. You can open a business number for your entity anytime you like without opening a sales tax account or opening an import account or opening an income tax account under your business number. So you can do any of those. You can register with the Canadian government now and not create any obligations. It's just up to you. The big fat question besides all of that is, how do I get my products to and from Canada? That's where I come in to talk about what we're going to address next. So what I need you to do, expanding your business, you're going to start, this is the Canada strategy, right? You're going to start with Amazon Canada. Okay. So you already have experience with the US. You can extrapolate a lot of that experience, but tweak your analysis and the lens that you're looking through in order to examine your opportunities in Canada and expand. So use your Amazon seller app, toggle between the countries. Say you're looking at something in the US, automatically do a search for that same thing on the Canada account, right? Using the seller app. The product may not have the same ASIN as in the US catalog. So don't search based on ASIN and think that it's not there if your search doesn't produce a result. The best thing to do is to type, and don't use the UPC code necessarily either, because not all catalog entries had the UPC added to that listing when it was created. That's a way people use to hide listings, is not put the UPC on it if they can avoid it. So just search using words. You don't have to type out the whole title. Just type some of it. Like people have, say you're in your Walmart or you're online on walmart.ca, .com, walmart.com, and you type in Pioneer Woman. I just gave you a lead there, right? Pioneer Woman is massively popular, right? Your Walmarts in the US have a ton of Pioneer Woman products. If you ever have the opportunity to get into Canada ever again and our border reopens, you go into a Walmart in Canada, good luck in finding any degree of Pioneer Woman products. Like you may see one or two things, but that's it. But Pioneer Woman is well loved.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine, right, an entire line that constantly changes because she's always bringing out a new line of her stuff seasonally.
And you guys get the show Pioneer Woman. So you can watch it, but you can't get her stuff unless they go to her website.
Exactly. Right? So for Pioneer Woman, this is another tidbit. I never suggest people, when you're selling it on Amazon FBA, I don't suggest that people buy that retail arbitrage. Why? You may do the research in the store to figure out what you want, but in the store, they've taken her stuff out of all of its protective packaging. And a lot of her product in the home section is breakable. So figure out what you want to buy, but then order it online from Walmart so that it's going where it needs to go in its protective packaging. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
So just at the sidebar with Pioneer Woman. But say you go into the seller app, instead of typing Pioneer Woman uh, um, spoon holder, that's too specific. You're standing in the store or you're online. Just type Pioneer Woman and press go. Because then you're going to see in the seller app bring back all of the results that are in that catalog. And then you're like, oh, okay. And the seller app tends to present things. The best sellers are closer to the top of results, right? So you see, oh, this spoon holder, you didn't search specifically for it, but the spoon holder, you see that. But then you see this creamer, this that looks like a cow. That's also hugely popular. And guess what? Your eyes fall on that shelf, and you see the things that are in that seller app result list. Or you look online and you see, oh, well, they have that stuff in stock. So you have your source in front of you, but you're also seeing things that you would not have thought to search for. You're seeing those in the results in the seller app, and you're easily able to then look more at the financials of it and who's selling it currently and all that good detail that's available in the seller app, right? So use your seller app, right? It's such an incredible tool, and it's on a mobile device. Same deal. You can go to Amazon Seller Central and go to inventory, add a product, and do your research there. Look at all the Amazon product categories. You may have specializations where you love to sell in, um, you know, stuff related to newborn babies and new mothers in the baby category, right? Have at it. But look at all the product categories. You may find over time that you start kind of niching, falling into little niches, and you develop your own specializations or whatever, but don't tune out other product categories. Don't assume, don't prejudge. You, as always, think, oh, who's going to want this? You don't know. Research it. Always check. Make it your routine to look at the Amazon.ca catalog, and then it will be automatic for you. Now, how do you get your products in and out of Canada? Canada Prep and Fulfillment is not just a prep and fulfillment service. We have become your logistics, admin, red tape service as well. So we streamline everything to smooth the path for you to get your products in or out of Canada, going to Amazon.com, going to Amazon.ca. So the Canada strategy is that we are actually the springboard for you to expand, whether your product is expanding into Canada or you're using Canada as a source to find products to sell on .com. Our intention, of course, is to go beyond just Canada and the US. Next logical step is Mexico, Brazil, onwards, right? Yeah. But let's start with Canada. So what do we do? So we provide shipment assistance. So the thing that people, and this is the barrier to entry to Canada, the thing that has caused people to be terrified when it comes to expanding internationally always has to do with the navigating the border, figuring out, okay, what do I need to do? What paperwork, what licenses, what this, that. The other thing is that's a moving target, because what may be the requirements or the documentation that's needed this quarter, that can change. And if you're not somebody that's in Canada or paying attention to the regulatory changes happening here, something that worked for you last month may no longer work. And you could initiate a shipment, and I've seen this often, initiate a shipment from the US, for example, going directly to Amazon Canada, and you think you got everything airtight for it to clear customs through your freight company's brokerage arm to get to Amazon Canada. Well, guess what? If that broker realizes, oh, you're trying to ship food into Canada? Like a year ago, 9 months ago, no problem. You didn't need any kind of special licensing. Guess what changed? You need a license. So your stuff is in the hands of your UPS, for example. And UPS's brokerage arm has, okay, this is what this is. This is the tariff treatment, the duties and taxes that are applicable. Okay, do we have the license in place? Does this person who's trying to import, do they have an importer account with Canada Revenue and therefore have an importer number? Are they the importer of record? Is that airtight? Okay, that's good. They got that done. All right, this is food. Where's the license that is now required according to Canada Revenue? The Canadian Food Federal Department, the equivalent of the FDA here in Canada.
Okay.
If that's not in place, guess what happens? Your shipment's stuck. And until you get that license, it's not going anywhere. And no one can clear that for you because guess what? You are the importer of record. And the importer of record has to have that license with the Canadian entity, the Canadian government entity that is responsible for the food. So now you're scrambling to get that sorted out because it's not going to leave customs, and UPS is not going to deliver that to its destination until that is airtight, until all of that is satisfied. That kind of thing is what happens to people because of ignorance. You just don't know. But now you have capital that's tied up in shipments that you have sent. You just didn't know, right? So where do we come in? We're saying you don't need to worry your pretty little head about all of that stuff. We'll handle it. What Canada Prep and Fulfillment is saying, okay, you need to focus on sourcing your products, creating your shipment records in your seller account for those orders you've placed, and you need to tell us about the shipments you've initiated, and we handle everything else. So whether your products are in Canada, you're sourcing them in Canada and you want to sell them on .ca or .com, or whether you are sourcing your products from the United States or elsewhere in the world and you're trying to get them into Canada, right? For the United States in particular, we have set it up so that you can ship your products to our US locations. We have 2 locations in the United States, one in Lewiston, New York, which is nearby Toronto, and another in Washington State that's nearby Vancouver. Okay. That allows us to pick up your shipments, right? So you're not dealing with an international shipment initially. You're dealing with getting your stuff to a US address, sourced in the US, going to a US address. If you purchase from your supplier, whether that's online or it's a wholesaler, that's usually a free shipment. You place your order, it's going free to a US address. So then we do the pickup, we clear it through customs, transport it to Toronto, transport it to Vancouver, and then we do the prep and onwards to Amazon Canada. Now, why is that critical? Because we are handling all of the potentially messy parts of it, which is the customs clearance, all the right documentation. We have physical possession of your shipment. We are at the border going into the building to enter the information into the computer, to fill out all the right paperwork, to present it to the decision-making border agents, answering any questions they may have in person right away, and getting it through customs live. Transport to the Toronto location or the Vancouver location after that. That way, your products don't get stuck somewhere. and you have no clue how to get them unstuck. They're not getting to Amazon with duties and taxes still owing, and then Amazon chucking them aside. Like, we don't deal with duties and taxes. Think about that.
Yeah.
What has happened to people is that they don't know what they're doing. They ship something straight through to Amazon. It gets to Amazon, right? If there's anything owing, if there's any question around it, by the time Amazon is touching your boxes, the carrier is long gone. That carrier dropped his trailer on the Amazon property and left. So now Amazon gets to that trailer, opens it up, sees your boxes. There's still stuff owing. There's paperwork on this. They just toss your stuff aside. You will not get your boxes back from Amazon. That's not happening. The carrier's gone, right? So that's the nightmare that people were experiencing because it was just ignorance. You didn't know, right? So we stand in and we get your products. If we're talking about coming from the US into Canada, we stand in and get your products through and prepped and onto Amazon Canada. So it's a full service solution, right? Like I said, the way that you scale your business is you need to focus on the revenue generating activities. What is a revenue generating activity when we're talking about Amazon? It's making the sourcing decision. Because based on the analysis and how you've been taught to do analysis, it's not a question of will it sell. Your analysis and the tools that you have, you know it's going to sell. You know what it's going to sell for. You know the net profit you end up with. You have virtual certainty. That's why I consider Amazon almost like a money printing business, right?
Yeah.
So your time is best spent focusing on making the sourcing decisions and doing the sourcing. That's the revenue, because the money is made already when you do those things.
Yeah.
All the other rest of it, you need to outsource that. If you're going to scale, you need to outsource that. So you do the sourcing. You have to create your FBA shipment records in your seller account or have somebody create them for you.
Yeah.
And then you notify us, hey, I've placed 10 orders with my different suppliers and I've boxed up a whole bunch of other boxes. There's 20 other boxes that are coming to you. Whatever it is that's happening, you're telling us about that. And we have an online form that you complete to do that. And that's it. We take it from there. You don't have to worry about Canada Customs. You don't have to worry about registrations or paperwork and licenses and all that kind of stuff. You're done.
Yeah.
We take the hassle out of it. You're going hands-free, right? So, like I said, you can source in Canada. You can sell what you source in Canada on .ca, or you can export it to sell on .com. And exporting from Canada to the United States, let me tell you, US Customs has made it very, very easy and less expensive, like really cheap actually, because of just some regulatory allowances that they have that allow you to export duty and tax free from Canada into the United States. And we have information about that on our website. So I won't go into that here. We don't have enough time. So access sources in Canada, whether they're distributors, they're wholesalers, manufacturers, they're online retailers. On our website, we also, when you have an account with us, on our website, we have seller resources that include a list of over 100 online retailers in Canada. And we also have a list of manufacturers and wholesalers. Those are just starting points to help you. So many of you are not aware of what online retailers are in Canada, right? If you don't live here, you don't know, right? So we've given you some help there as a starting point. right? So we're saying order in Canada, order from Canadian suppliers, direct your orders to us. It's a domestic shipment from a Canadian supplier to a Canadian delivery address that's usually free. We'll prep, pack, and ship it into Amazon Canada or exporting it to Amazon.com. Okay? We've talked about importing to Canada. So you're shipping to one of our US addresses. We'll do the pickup, clearing, transport to either a Toronto or Vancouver location. Remember, if you're shipping to our US address, that again, from your supplier is often a free shipment, US supplier to US delivery address. Again, we'll do the prep, pack, and ship to Amazon Canada. But remember, you have all the other places to sell your imported products. Amazon, Walmart, eBay. You may have a Shopify store, you may have an Etsy store. There's just, eBay is, and I should say this, very much alive here in Canada. So don't think, oh, no, for sure. Order fulfillment. There are a lot of companies out there that just almost burst into tears thinking about having to fulfill their Canadian, the orders that are coming from their Canadian customers because of, oh, it's such one thing I've got to send and it's going to cost this big hassle and it's going to cost this huge amount of money. And da, 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 da. Well, what about sending stock and having it stored in Canada at Canada Prep and Fulfillment warehouses? And then we will connect to your store and see your orders live. And as they occur on a daily basis, we fill those orders for you, generate the postage, get that shipped to your customer, and we settle up with you on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, relating to your the fulfillment of your Canadian orders. Get some of the burden off yourself. This is absolutely key, not just for Walmart Canada merchant fulfillment, but it's, and there's a lot of like big ticket items that, I'd say merchant fulfill them above on Amazon, like above $120 selling price. When you crunch the numbers, merchant fulfilling them is more lucrative rather than FBA, because Amazon's FBA fees just take a massive chunk way beyond what is reasonable after a certain selling price. Yeah. Walmart Canada, Walmart is aggressively trying to attract sellers to come onto the Walmart Canada marketplace as third-party sellers. And we're definitely here to help support the fulfillment of those orders. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. What is that? Deliver. Deliver yes. Does not yet operate in Canada. Yeah. So they probably have expansion plans when Walmart Canada gets to a robust enough size for retail, right. Like it's third-party sellers.
Right. And they don't offer, as my understanding, they also don't offer WFS, which is Walmart Fulfillment Services in Canada.
Oh no, and that's going to take time to get.
That's going to take time, yeah.
Because that marketplace has to become robust enough where there's enough of these third-party sellers to justify them implementing those services.
Correct.
So until they do, or even after they do, we are able to handle the fulfillment of your Walmart Canada orders. Again, you would just be stocking us, meaning stocking our fulfillment center. And then as your orders occur, because we are connected to your Walmart store, we will see them, we will fill those orders. Same for your eBay store, same for your Shopify store. Whatever e-commerce store you have, we can connect to you and we'd be able to handle your order fulfillment. Yet another part of your business that can easily, the burden can be taken off your hands so you're not dealing with the headaches you currently are.
Yeah.
Okay. We've already talked about exporting to the US. Hands down, US customs There are some people in the US government that seem to love Canadians because they've made it very easy for us to export products from Canada to the US. They made it very nice and duty and tax free. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So you need to leverage that too, even if you're not Canadian, and source products from Canada and access products that don't have a lot of competition on .com, for example, because the supply is not in the US, the supply is in Canada. So Amazon sellers being what they are, which typically lazy, they're not going to look at Canada for sourcing. So that means there's few people that are actually sourcing to sell that product. So the competition level is way low. You really need to source, if you're up for .com, you really need to source your products from off the beaten path countries to really lower your competition level on .com. Yeah. So
Yeah.
China, of course, everyone's looking at China. The US, everyone's looking at the US. Canada right next door, who's bothering, right? That's what I did. I found toy suppliers up here when I was really focused on just toys. Toy suppliers up here that had toys that were almost completely out of supply in the US, but Canada still had supply. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
I sold all that stuff on I could have sold it on .c. I didn't bother. I sold it all on .com because it was like, well, there's nobody. The listing is dormant. I just supplied the listing and no other stuff. I was like, whoop, perfect.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So Canada Prep and Fulfillment, our website is exactly that. Canada Prep and Fulfillment. And is spelled out A-N-D. You're seeing it on your screen. CanadaPrepandFulfillment.com. Again, we have 2 locations. We have shared administration, same look and feel, same processes. So you choose both locations, right? If you have a supplier that is on the West Coast of the United States, or they're in the Asia Pacific rim, you may decide, hey, I'm going to work with the Vancouver location for this shipment. And maybe you have other suppliers that, you know, are Midwest, South, East Coast of the United States, or maybe, you know, the Atlantic, across the Atlantic in that direction. It doesn't matter. Both locations are available to you, so you can look at which location you think would best service to minimize the costs related to either getting your products into the country or wherever you're sourcing within Canada. Because it's mostly a free shipment, it doesn't matter. But if you physically live on the more the West Coast of the United States or in the Asia Pacific rim, you may decide, you know, I'd rather work with the Vancouver location because that's the entry point to Canada for the vast majority of the country's people source products from. So like China, Australia, you know, Southeast Asia in its entirety. So that usually is easiest because the container ships, most of them come to our West Coast. But of course, container ships come via our East Coast as well, because they're container ships coming from Europe and other parts of the world in that geography. Either way, we're able to support your business. So I challenge you guys, get started. Visit CanadaPrepandFulfillment.com, register with us, it's free. And when you register, you'll be prompted with additional information that will help you, okay? So tap into the seller resources that we have available for registered clients. And that's a menu item on our website when you're logged into your account on our site that's called Seller Resources. And review and follow the step-by-step overview, the step-by-step process instructions that we've made available on the website. A lot of the questions that you will have are answered in the step-by-step process overview. We provide you with the addresses you'll need, your next steps in order to get yourself onboarded with us, All of that is outlined in those step-by-step processes. There's a process that's described for import to Canada, ship from within Canada, export from Canada, and then doing removal orders from Amazon. So you may decide their product you have in your Amazon US store, you want to instead send to Amazon Canada. Just do a removal order to our US pickup address and away from there, and everything just goes from there where we import it, get it prepped, and shipped to Amazon Canada. Or the reverse, you may decide, hey, I have stuff in my Canada store, I want to now instead sell on .com. Do the removal order coming to one of our addresses in Canada. We'll prep it and do the export to Amazon.com. You also notice on our website that we have the start shipment function, and that is the online tool that allows you to submit your shipment notifications or shipment requests to us via that online tool. So again, when you are ready to get started and you're all onboarded, you have 3 responsibilities: source your products, create your shipping plans or FBA shipment records in your seller account, your Canada seller account, your US seller account, whichever is applicable, and notify us using our start shipment function when you're logged into our website, into your account on our website. Those are your 3 responsibilities, and then we handle everything else after that. I really challenge you guys to grow your business, whichever angle that you're taking initially. You'll really find the other shipment options are very viable for you as well. Just get comfortable with one of these and expand from there. So you may decide, I'm going to start by sourcing products from Canadian suppliers to sell on Amazon.ca. Great. You're comfortable with that. You get a rhythm for how we all work together. Then you decide, you know what, I'm going to start sourcing some stuff from US online retailers or US wholesalers, and I'm going to have those shipped to one of Canada Prep and Fulfillment's US addresses for pickup, import, transport, and prep and ship to Amazon Canada. And then you're like, oh, this is all working really well. Let me try some other stuff. But again, remember, in all of this, you're looking at different product categories, you're looking at different suppliers. You have a whole thriving, very profitable business in another country. And you don't have to do the heavy lifting.
That is the great thing right there.
You can expand and grow your business and be happy because you will have a lot more excitement about your business if you are making high profits. So you're expending the energy, but you are making money and you're not having to fight off so much competition to get that done. So expand your thinking, expand your business, start with Canada. So I know that there will be questions. We do have answers. So I suggest that you visit CanadaPrepandFulfillment.com and register with us. Like I said, it's free. And you can email us at info@CanadaPrepandFulfillment.com. You can email your questions there. But if you onboard with us, you'll find that your questions will likely be answered in that onboarding process. And it's not as likely that you'll need to email us at that info address. But I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys and looking forward to helping you expand your businesses into Canada, whatever your business entails, and whichever category of product that you sell in or will sell in. Really, the sky is the limit. It's a very exciting time. We've always been, as e-commerce people, on this trajectory. It's just that with the current COVID-19 realities, it just expedited and exploded just how big the opportunity is, just a lot sooner than we thought it was going to be. So it's
Yeah.
really huge. It's important that you jump onto this. Um, and it's important that you expand, and you don't have to be afraid. You can be nervous if you like, but the first time you go through the process of shipping something to sell on Amazon Canada, for example, whether it's something you sourced within Canada or outside of Canada, all that nervousness will dissipate because you're going to realize that you actually have boots on the ground in Canada that's supporting all of this, and we have your back. So you don't have to worry. You can expand and you can grow and do that rapidly. So you could be doing 10,000 a month today easily. You can explode that to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 a month. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of products to do that. You can have 20, 30, 40 different products in your catalog, in your inventory, excuse me, for .ca, and easily do those numbers. That's not a problem. Not with high prices and then high profits. Think about it. That's a lot of money that you would be bringing in net profiting each month. You guys need to do this.
Yeah.
I know I may be biased, but I'm really telling you the truth. Talk to some people that are already selling on .ca
And making money all
and
day,
make money. Yeah,
all day long.
yeah.
I took your slides down, so it's just me and you, but
Okay.
I just wanted to say that was totally awesome. I appreciate you. I'm glad we had a chance to talk today. Um, we hope this information is a blessing to so many. If you're looking to get started in Canada, this is the time, this is the place. There's so much opportunity. There's also a link to Canada Prep and Fulfillment. It is from eCom Sellers. So it's somewhere on the page. So you can take a look at it somewhere at the top or the bottom of this page.
So you can take a look.
So, so I think you have to close your window because we are playing back a second time. So in any case, I am so glad that Pauline took the time today to hang out with us and to talk with us about Canada Prep and Fulfillment. Again, there's a link somewhere on this page, either at the top or the bottom. It's available for you to be able to, get signed up. Yeah, your window is playing over and over again, so you have to close it. But that's okay.
Yeah, it was my laptop was all confused. It was like, we don't know what's going on.
It's all good. It's all good. But I'm so glad you had a chance to hang out with us. I was telling people that there's a link somewhere on this page for people to sign up for Canada Prep and Fulfillment with eCom Sellers. And I think for All Access Pass members, they get the ground running. And I can't remember. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm not trying to be funny, but I didn't know if we still had a discount or no discount. I don't know if you use our link. So
yeah. What we have is the cheat sheet.
Definitely.
And how to get started, hit the ground running. Yeah.
In Canada. There you go. All right. So thank you so much. And I think that's a lot for people to process right now.
It is. The replay is so important, right?
That's the reason why the recordings are so important.
So you listen to it again.
Yes.
And then you can take action and away you go.
All right. Well, this has been another great masterclass of the eCom Seller Summit. We are so grateful for Ms. Pauline, and we're going to say goodbye for now.